Hello and welcome back to Vancouver Actors Podcast. I am your co-host, Michael Coleman.
And I'm your other co-host, Sidney Quesnelle.
And today we're going to talk about self-submitting for independent projects. We'd like to first thank our sponsor, We Audition, at weaudition.com. In a global pandemic, we're doing a lot of self-tapes at home by ourselves, and this is a great company that helps you find a reader last minute, so you have professional readers, professional environment for all your self-tapes and all your needs. And if you're a reader who wants to apply to be a reader for the company as well, it's a way to make a little extra money doing that.
And it's a good way to network and make friends in this pandemic, since you can't really take as many acting classes and you can't really meet people in workshops, so might as well meet people that you audition with all the time.
Yeah, so expand the community and give it a try, check it out. Let us know how it goes and how you're feeling. We'd love to hear your feedback. And so today we're going to talk about self-submissions for independent projects. I'm going to perhaps, I just want to lead off with sort of my rule of three, because I know when we're starting out, when we have agents or we don't have agents and we're looking to get agents, the earlier stages as we're trying to build our resume is what I'm fumbling through, is we're often at a place where we feel like there's a need to fill our resume to create an impression or perception of skill and of experience.
Or just to be wanted.
Just to be wanted. Sure, there's lots of reasons we do it. But I have a personal philosophy that I've been using for, I don't want to say decades because it makes me sound like I'm like 500 years old.
For 10 years.
10 years. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Because I'm 5 years old. No, I am ancient. Even Gandalf was like, wow. I remember
everyone's only over 18.
Yeah.
Legally, that's all you can ask me.
But what I have been doing for literally decades is I use something called the rule of three. And the rule of three for me is 2 out of 3 things need to be amazing for me to have an interest in a project. So I have never subscribed to the idea I will just act if somebody wants me to act. That doesn't mean I'm above anything or
But it's about knowing your worth.
Yeah, because if you don't set your value, somebody else will, and they'll always set it too low. So always set your own value. So what I have is I have this pyramid of, it's not really I guess it's a metaphorical pyramid, but it's the money, the people, and the script. And I need to have 2 out of 3 of them interest me for me to say, yeah, that's a value. I'd like to participate in that. So,
and I would argue even if the script, if you're like, could be written a little bit better, but if there's something that's really cool in it that you're like, oh, that would be, I just want to do that so badly, then that is included in the script. Like if you get a really cool fight scene, if you get to do something that you've never gotten to do before, if they're like, oh, we'll train you how to ride a horse.
Yeah, I think that's totally valid, and I think that speaks to setting your own value, right? Like, don't let me or Sidney or anybody else tell you what you like in terms of a script. But yeah, if there's something in there, like some, I've got to, maybe it's your first time doing a cool green screen scene or a fight sequence or flying or some sort of stunt or
something that you can add to your resume in a way that's not just, I did a student film, but maybe you did a student film that has a bunch of green screen and all this crazy stuff. So you have that now experience. You can do motion capture now.
For sure. And that's the thing. So you set your own value, but my advice is be honest with yourself. Be truly honest. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're so excited and ready and available that you'll just do anything anytime somebody says, will you be in my project? Again, I've been doing this for 30 years professionally, and I'll still work for free. If the people are great and the script is great, let's do it. Let's have a great time. If it fits in my schedule, I'm so on board.
And we're going to get into this later as well, especially if you're a union actor just starting out. A lot of the student films now in Vancouver are actually union films.
Yeah.
And legally with the union, you are allowed to negotiate a rate, even if the student paperwork says that there's absolutely no compensation. Legally, you can negotiate your rate. So there's just things like that where you can know your worth.
For sure. And again, so I'd go back to my personal philosophy, and it's sometimes a hard pill to swallow, but learn the power of no. Learn the power to say no. And I'm not suggesting you turn down every audition. As a matter of fact, I rarely turn down auditions or opportunities to work. But when you know that you can, when you know that you don't have to say yes to everything, it's an incredibly empowering moment. And when you say, no, I'm only going to work on things that do 2 out of these 3 things, the people are amazing and the script, or the people and the money, or the money and the people, whatever it is, whatever your combination is, but set your, and don't, that's my rule. I mean, maybe you've got a rule of 1.
Yeah, like I think I've only turned down a couple auditions, and they've been times when, like, when I submitted for the character, which we'll get into also, submitting for characters and what one suits you the best, and the character's name was like Lisa, and she had a lot of depth to her, and then they send me the sides and it just says like hot girl instead of Lisa, even though they're like, oh, we want you to read for Lisa, and you're like,
no, I won't work under those temperatures. Was it a temperature thing?
Yeah, it was too hot.
It was too hot. She was only acting near the sun.
Yeah, I couldn't.
I cannot act near the sun. Not for an independent project. How would we even get there?
Yeah, or like if the script is like, if what they're sending you for the sides is already wildly inappropriate, I don't want to read your full script.
It's probably it's probably a good red flag that it's if you're getting red flags before the project starts, probably a good sign.
But let's kind of get into indies and like submitting for them themselves.
Let's do it.
Yeah, the first place to start, I think, when you're just starting out is Casting Call BC, Casting Call Vancouver, and Casting Call Vancouver Island for BC on Facebook. I feel like those are all good places. They'll just be like a big poster and you'll read through everything. But if you're like, ooh, Facebook's a little bit sketchy, Vancouver Actors Guide is a really good place. They have auditions. Yeah. They have a lot of different like you can go through agencies that are vetted through them, all that kind of thing.
Fantastic resource for finding photographers, agencies, what's happening. They do an amazing job at Vancouver Actors Guide.
Yeah, all the above. But with all of these things, instead of like using an actual casting website, you have to email them. And so always making sure that your email subject line is the right subject line that they ask you for. Really only submitting for characters that you actually feel like you could play. It's not like when your agent is like kind of throwing you for like wild cards. There's not really going to be a wild card for a student film. Right. So submit for what you actually can see yourself being, and make it very clear in the subject line, like character's name, submission, dash, your first name, last name. And in it, make it very brief. They don't want to hear that you're so desperate to be in their production. They don't want to hear, oh my God, I love this school so much. I want to be in their film so badly. They don't care about it.
Yeah. In hockey, we say, like when you score a goal, act like you've done it before, or act like that's your job. So same thing here. Hopefully everybody has the incredible enthusiasm to be a part of every single project. So don't let that be your differentiating factor. Like, I'm going to be the one that's excited to be on set. Yeah. Every single actor is going to do that. So that's not a thing. Can you deliver it? And what's your training? What's your experience? What are your other resources or assets that make you a consideration?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I have a copy and pasted thing that I have in my notes. It's like, hi, I saw your casting notice on blank, and I fill it in. I am applying for the role of blank. If they're like, you need fight experience or you need to swim, I put that experience in there, and I say I've attached my headshot, resume, and reel down below. Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing from you, Sidney Quesnelle. And then I attach everything. That's it. Short, sweet. That's all you need. Let your resume, your headshot, and everything speak for itself.
I think it's really smart. So it's just a canned response, and that's part of running a business. So you should have a folder where you have a canned response so that you're not trying to reinvent how you're going to communicate with people every single time. I think it's a great idea.
And then
you
forgot
you don't work near the sun.
Yeah, I don't work near the sun or in a bikini if you're not paying me money.
Fair enough. Me neither. So have those canned responses and have the ability to be efficient with it so that you're not sitting there crafting everything from scratch every time you submit a new thing. It
shouldn't be a barrier for you of like, oh, there's this role I'm already kind of nervous to submit for. It shouldn't be, oh, I'm nervous about what I'm going to say. You know what you're going to say. They're not going to read it. They're just going to click name, headshot. Like that's their thought process.
I would also say, we often have a shorter window to prepare our auditions. So the last thing you want to do is say, well, I have X amount of time to dedicate to this project. I'm going to spend 50% of it crafting an email. Have the email ready to go. And then...
And these websites like upload all the time. Like honestly, I check it every morning before I leave my house, except for on mornings like today. Hi, good morning. We're here at 8:30
Hi, good morning.
or I check it in the evening as well. And I just like, I've started shortening what I submit for as well. I'm only looking for paid projects now. I don't really want to go for unpaid. But that's just from submitting all the time. Speaking of paying, if you don't want to use Vancouver Actors Guide, there is, you can sign up for Casting Workbook, which really doesn't have very much on it for self-submitting. But if you want an agent, everybody uses Casting Workbook. And it's locally based, but it's a monthly fee. And with that monthly fee, you do get unlimited videos to upload already on the website, and you get unlimited like files to upload, say like recording and everything. So you don't need to pay for all your applications, which is nice. I think it's $21 a month.
Yeah, and it's you know what? Yeah, the other thing is if you want to get an agent as well, and you don't have one, and you're sitting there at a self-submission stage where you're finding all your own work, I would suggest it's not a bad idea that when you're submitting to agents, you're able to send them links to here's my casting workbook and all the other different platforms that are available. So that it looks like you're already ready to be in the game. So somebody that doesn't have that and they're looking to get into it, it makes you look a little greener, which is okay. Everybody gets to be new, but that's something you can do that's one step further. So it's highly recommended.
Set up a casting workbook and maybe not pay for it when you're in the self-submitting stage, just because the only things that I've ever seen on there for self-submissions are usually student films that are also on Vancouver Actors Guide. For sure. So that's kind of a time when I don't really see that. When you're in your very beginning stages, maybe don't pay for it, but set up your account fully, because it's free to have one headshot or two headshots. Yeah, it's free to have two headshots and resume on it. So do that.
And that's enough to get an agent, right? So when you're doing your submission and they ask you for your casting workbook information in order to make sure you're online, you can say, yeah, I'm already on casting workbook, and I can contact them and add you as my representation, but you're already one step ahead of the game.
The one I would say that you should pay for, though, to be honest, is Actors Access. The first time I got it, I did not pay for the pro account, and I just paid for submissions. And then I looked at all my statements and I saw it's about $2 per submission Canadian. And then I had spent more money than the yearly fee, and I also made more money on the website than the yearly fee. So I felt like it's more worth it, $68 US dollars, to have a pro account on Actors Access, to be able to have full submissions. And every time you get sent sides, it's free to download your sides, which is usually $2. And it's also free to upload your EcoCast, which is usually $5. And so all of that is already...
That's great, and it's less than $2 a day. That's less than a cup of coffee a day.
Yes, and not sponsored. And with it as well, there's a lot of things you can apply for on Actors Access from even across the world that add Vancouver into their search engines that is not accessible to your agent. So this is something that you could be doing while you have an agent, because some people just want fresh faces, and so they've already gone through the agent side. They didn't like what they got, and so now they're on the actor side, and so that's just a way that you can see things that your agents can't.
That's a great idea. So that's some different platforms and areas where you can find work, and where you can look, and where you can be active. So even if you don't have representation, there's no reason you can't be actively pursuing your career every single day, looking for paid professional work, whether you have representation or not. So there's nothing stopping you. So the part that I would say next is, let's talk a little bit about preparing for an independent project, or what you would do for self-submission. My advice is prepare for it the exact same way you would if you had representation, they had submitted you, and you were going in. So don't try to get clever or creative or go outside the box. There's usually going to be very specific directions and instructions in terms of here's how we want the media labeled. Here's the size of the media that we will accept.
And you might think it's silly, and you might be like, well, whatever, it's just one thing, but don't give them any reason to say no to you before they've even seen your acting. And also, like, there's times where they even just say, submit your headshot and resume. Don't send your reel. You don't need to. So anything they've asked for, just follow the rules. Like that, they're not looking... You're not going to get bonus points for breaking the rules. In fact, you may lose points. 10 point Slytherin. No, you might lose points if you are suddenly
trying to be so creative and it may come across as desperate. So follow the advice and don't let the strength of your audition being on how clever you can interpret things. Let it be based on the strength of your performance and your ability to follow directions and guidelines.
I've heard a couple things just with self-submissions because I've scoured the internet of how to submit for projects and everything, and I've kind of taken my own knowledge from it. And there is a lot of bad advice out there, so see what really actually works for you in your market. Obviously, every market is different. We're just talking about Vancouver. But I've seen things that are like, oh, make sure, like, when you see your script, think of the first 3 things that you think of when you read it, and then think of the next 3 things because everyone else already thought of those 3 things. But don't worry about being interesting. Don't be the outlier. Don't be the weirdo. Just be, like,
just serve the story.
Yeah, I'm sure you've said it on other ones, the be
interested, not interesting. Yeah. Just serve the story. What the heck is this story trying to do? How is this scene serving the story? Then how is the character serving the scene? Then how do you serve the character? Like, just keep it simple, keep it consistent, and just be a good storyteller.
Yeah. Darlene Tate, who's a casting director in Vancouver, has a really good checklist. It's kind of similar to how Jackie Lynn has the checklist for a self-tape. So this is before you even get a self-tape. It's a really nice infographic that our lovely producer Lydia will be having linked below. Or you can just Google Darlene Tate self-submission. And on it, you can even print it out and just, like, if you're like me, I don't know, put some, like, tape over it so you can check it off every single time and make sure you have everything. It just has a really good breakdown from someone who is on the indie casting director side, because there's different layers of indie projects. There's someone just making a sizzle reel with friends that just needs an actor.
Sure.
And they're just looking for an actor. They don't say anything on it. They're just looking for...
Right. Yeah.
Need an actor from the ages 15 to 45. Okay.
Right.
And then there's ones that are students that are getting graded on it. So they're probably not going to be the most organized, but they think that they will be. So just making sure that you treat the students as you would for professionals, because in 6 months from now, they will be.
Yeah, you never know. So you never know who you're going to meet on the way up. And when you're new, figuring stuff out, you're going to get opportunities to perhaps work with other peers in the industry that are in a similar position. So as they're creating their work and you're creating your experiences on set, that might be a really great mutual learning experience. And if it comes from a place of, mutual respect and professionalism, it's a heck of a great place to start. And you'll never know when you'll see them again on set. And, people have long memories. So
yeah, and I think that people kind of don't realize what indie really means anymore, because indie projects can have huge budgets. Indie doesn't mean low budget, and there's a lot of things that you can submit for that you will get paid scale that are still independent projects, which you can still self-submit for it. So I think that's a big misunderstanding, I think.
Yeah, back in the olden days, you had basically studio projects or independent projects, but now we have so many there's so much advancement in technology and diversification and people who have the technical and the organic skills to create a project that independent can mean a million and one things. It can be anything from shooting your Aunt Edna's birthday video to a major feature film with Ryan Gosling. Like, you can have independent projects of all sorts of sizes and shapes. So I wouldn't make any assumptions. I would just treat every single project I went out for like no different. I would treat them all like this is the most important thing on my plate today, and I would, whether I was auditioning for a major blockbuster and a huge franchise or my friend's film or a student film, treat them all the same. Just be ready to go, learn how to serve the story, and you'll be fine.
And I think that on that, a lot of people, even just like literally only 3 years ago, you could get away with a cell phone picture when you're submitting to these kind of projects.
Sure.
But now it's so, Vancouver is saturated with actors for sure. I know, especially after COVID, I've just been seeing a ridiculous amount of posts saying, hey, I moved up here from LA, I'm getting my PR, where can I move, where can I live? So just know that you are competing against people that are treating it seriously, so you just have to also treat it seriously. You need to have a good headshot. If you don't have a good headshot, use your portrait mode on your phone and make it, again, give them no reason to say no to you before.
Yeah, this goes back to, often when people are first starting out, and I get it, it can be an expensive way in, but remember, you're starting a company. So you're not just looking for a job. Like, you're not handing out resumes looking for a job. You are a company. And if you're a company that's not willing to invest in itself, it would be naive to think anybody else would invest in you either. So this industry is very shy. It'll never make the first move. Yeah. The industry will never say, here's a bunch of money. Here's a bunch of credits on your resume. Now can you start trying? Yeah. Like, the thing is that, yeah, you're going to spend money that you may not get back. Like, you're going to spend money on headshots. You're going to spend money on ring lights. You're going to spend money on better cameras, whatever the case may be, on different casting sites. And you're going to make investments. But this is why I would say treat it like a company. Every company out there has expenses. So expect your company to have expenses, but then find a way to ensure that you have projected revenues. And that's got to be the secret.
Speaking on like getting paid and everything, I know that everybody loves to kind of joke about being paid in exposure. But if someone's offering that, I really, really suggest you actually look at all the projects they've done. Because there's been a lot of times where I've been approached to me like, you're going to get great exposure on this. And I look into them and it's kind of like, well, I feel like you'll get great exposure from me being in the project, even though I have no real name. But it's just like, really look at the people who are saying you'll get exposure, because a lot of times those people have no sway at all. And so working for exposure for nothing is not exposure.
Yeah, and I go back to my rule of 3. Like, if somebody's trying to sell me something on, this will be great on your reel, this will be lots of exposure, you'll get free food. I have food in my fridge. I it's not a selling feature for me. Are the people good? Is the money good? Is the script good? Tell me 2 out of 3 of these things are good, and I'm probably super interested. Not only am I super interested, I'll prepare an audition. I will humbly submit and defer to your judgment whether or not I'm going to be worthy of serving your story. But don't try to sell me on anything outside of those 3 things.
I'm going to say this. This is kind of controversial in Vancouver, but I'm going to say it. Sorry.
Spoiler. Do we have a graphic for that?
Yeah.
Probably not. I put in the sound effects, Lydia. Lydia Rimmer, our producer. Yeah, you don't even have to put in sound effects.
So here's the thing. Stop submitting for free commercials. Commercials are a business expense. They're all over the place, all over these like stupid sites saying like, oh, it'll be great for your demo reels. You don't put a commercial in your demo reel.
Yeah.
You don't do it. You can get paid thousands of dollars for one day, so do not do a car commercial for free. It's something that has been driving me crazy. Or if it's even a local business, if they're not your aunt, don't do it.
And you know what? Your aunt's got $100. She does. I don't know your aunt personally, but I guarantee she's got $100.
Yeah, like it's something that gets me very heated because I get messages probably every 2 weeks being like, hey, are you willing to do this commercial? No, I'm not, because not only are you losing out on thousands of dollars that day, you're losing out on potentially thousands of dollars another day. You can't work for a car company in Vancouver for free one day and then go and work for Toyota tomorrow, because legally you can't. You've already been in a commercial for something else. So make sure that you're not doing free commercials.
And you also have to realize too, whether you're in the union or not, we are a community and we are a family. And when any one of us decides that they will collectively lower our collective value, you hurt all of us. So I get it. It's tough to get in sometimes and it's frustrating, but if you work hard and work smart, you'll get your chance. But if you decide to undercut all of us, it makes all of our wages go down. It makes all of our opportunities go down. Again, this is the whole reason we have a union. We can probably have a whole other podcast about the pros and cons of our union. But
all the pros.
All pros, yes. No, it's not unlike any union in the world. There's going to be pros, there's going to be cons. But yeah.
I also, on that, want to add, if you're greener or you're newer and you go and you see a post on the Facebook page and you see everyone is very angry in the comments, it's for a reason. You might not have realized it yet, but don't be that person who comments like, well, I'll do it, because you're not helping anyone, you're not helping yourself, you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because now you're going to be seen as someone who's willing to do it for free.
Yeah. So if we were to summarize some of the stuff we've discussed so far, the main thing is treat every audition like it's the big one. because one day it will be. So you never know. You literally never know what's going to be the big one. When you're self-submitting, make sure you're on platforms that have respected,
be safe,
legitimate, safe opportunities, and just be smart about it. Treat it like it's a real job, and one day it will be. So
yeah, and with also all these self-submissions, I also want to just add again, if you're not going to be paid for the project, don't spend a lot of money on a self-taping studio or anything like that. But you can use our code Vancouver Actors for 25% off of We Audition, and then you can get a reader to actually make your audition look legitimate. It's not your mom reading. It's treating it like a professional audition.
And that's no disrespect to your mom. Your mom's probably great.
Yeah, if your mom is an actress, use your mom.
Unless she's a bad actress. Should we list all the bad
first.
actors? No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to list all the bad actor or actors.
But yeah. Oh, I do want to add one more thing. Sorry, this is a bit of a segue. Now I feel bad because I did that first. But even if it's a non-union project, I also want to add, and if you're non-union as well, read our union's guidelines and all of the paperwork so you know what you can be expecting and know what your boundaries can be. It's just something good to know because everyone
really smart.
in BC or in Canada should be following ACTRA at least, and in BC should be following UBCP. So it's just like, even if they're non-union, they can't treat you like dirt.
Yeah, and this goes back to, treat it like a business. So even though you may feel like I don't have an agent yet or I'm not in the union yet, there's a lot of different things that can make it feel frustrating. Yeah, but treat it like a business and have the expectation that your business is professional and should be treated as such, and you will find others will follow suit. Again, set your own value and others will respect that. Don't set a value. Don't be surprised when people start setting it for you and it's far lower than you desire. So this is a career where lots of people have had lots of bookings. It's a real thing, but you got to treat it smart and you got to treat it like a business. And if you don't, you can't be surprised when it doesn't happen.
And remember that like having 1 or 2 student films on your resume is good. It shows that you know what it's like on a set. But having 300 student films on your resume doesn't help anyone.